The largest criminal organization in the United States? Drugs that can cause an overdose just from grazing your hand? A dark plot for sex trafficking, human trafficking, and experimenting on people? The media doesn't seem to be telling us the whole story on purpose. Why? All this and more on today's episode of The Edge of Wonder. Wonder.
Welcome to Edge of Wonder. I'm your host, Ben.
And I'm Rob.
So in our previous video, we covered media tactics, what methods they're using to control us.
We couldn't fit it all into one video, so we decided to make a part 2 where we're going to get you thinking by showing you stories that should be in the news, but for that some strange reason isn't getting a lot of press.
And when it's getting press, it's always used for some other strange agenda.
Now guys, we could have tackled this by pointing out what's so messed up in the news currently, but that's just going to spark a debate.
Right. Instead, we'll show you what they aren't covering, and you can come to your own conclusions on what is in the news now.
So if you haven't watched our previous video on media tactics, we strongly recommend you do. Without further ado, here are major stories that should be in the news, but that conveniently aren't getting much press. Have you guys heard of the NXIVM sex cult? Okay, on their website, they say they're basically a self-improvement philosophy to help you answer, quote, important questions about what it means to be human. I mean, just look at this website. It totally looks legit.
Well, recently, several people associated with this were arrested. The court documents talk about child trafficking, human trafficking, sex trafficking, testing weird drugs on children without consent, to which many of them got sick. I mean, how does this line up with what we just looked at this website?
The court docs say that they were accused of showing their subjects videos of people being brutally murdered, including a Nazi stomping a black man's head until it exploded, dismembering 3 women with a machete. I mean, they're showing this to their subjects. In a reported video, they showed a man where they cut out part of his brain and forced him to eat it. The guy must have been still alive because they knew which part to take out without killing him.
It's like real life Hannibal. Okay, several people were arrested on serious charges. I mean, I don't know how you can get more serious than that, but yeah. First was the doctor running it named Brandon Porter. Second one was Allison Mack, who many of us know from her part in the show Smallville.
The most recent arrest was of Claire Bronfman, who is both the Seagram's heiress and executive board member of NXIVM, who was also its largest financial backer. Bronfman is said to have funded NXIVM at a minimum of $150 million.
Crazy. So the media is being very careful about how they're reporting on this. Ask yourself why for a moment. Upon further investigation, Allison Mack and other very major stars seem to be connected to this. If you go to frankreport.com, they've been doing the most work we've seen that has been exposing this.
The list of celebrity names involved with this is getting large. What will happen if the mainstream media started digging in? And what more would it uncover? Is this hitting on the tip of a huge iceberg? I mean, we're gonna have to wait to find out.
If you guys want to know more, we can definitely do a whole episode about this. Let us know in the comments below.
Okay, next, MS-13. Have you guys heard about MS-13? MS-13's motto is Mata, Viola, Controlla, or Kill, Rape, Control. These guys are behind egregious murders, drugs, human trafficking, extortion, and so much more.
So to be initiated into the MS-13, you really have to pretty much be deemed crazy enough to even join. Reports range from having to kill someone in a rival gang, leading gang rapes on women, etc. I mean, that's just the tip of it.
After you've done that, you're not even in yet. You have to be jumped in by enduring a beating by some of the strongest gang members for 13 seconds, counted very slowly by the gang leaders. If you're a woman, reports say to be jumped in, you have to endure being gang raped by 6 members of the gang.
So they go into sanctuary neighborhoods and force kids to join. So Trump called MS-13 animals for a number of reported grisly murders, and mainstream media said he was racist.
This is a quote from the Epoch Times article on MS-13. Nissa Micken's body had been discovered with such significant trauma to the face and head that she was almost unrecognizable, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office of the Eastern District of New York. She had been attacked with baseball bats and a machete.
So you may be asking, why is this so important? MS-13 is one of the largest criminal organizations in our country. It estimates numbers between 6,000 to 10,000 in the United States, with more than 60,000 operating internationally between the countries of El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala.
After some of these grisly murders happened, Trump called these gang members animals, as we stated before, but the mainstream media said that it was, quote, inhumane to call any human an animal, and the reporting on this issue has been very limited.
Ask yourself why again. What happens if data comes out on this gang, where they're coming from, and how they get into the country? It unfortunately would lead the media to talk about an issue they've been railing on Trump for: immigration.
No one here at this show would ever say immigration is a bad thing for anyone wanting to come into this country. But facts and issues have to be looked at objectively. This has nothing to do with any race, only character. I mean, who wants murderers or people that are chopping people up with machetes doing anything around anyone? And those countries are here.
Right? Because, like, on a side note, I actually had a friend who was killed by one, a gang member in Ohio.
Jeez.
It was like a few, maybe over 10 years ago, but yeah, it's crazy.
The Edge of Wonder.
Okay, so the next issue we're going to talk about is the opioids crisis. So I'm sure most of you already know what the most addictive drug out there is, and almost every family in America seems to know someone who's affected by this.
So this one is really big for me because I too have a family member who's had like now 2 overdoses and is in jail right now as we speak.
Okay, so if it wasn't clear before, guys, the drug we're talking about is heroin, obviously. Did you know that opioid overdoses have become the #1 cause of death for Americans under 50? Last year, there were over 70,000 deaths in the US, according to the US drugabuse.gov.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio, and Dayton has the most deaths related to any city in the country. This is where we went to report and went riding along with the sheriff, and we're reporting on all the opiate, whatever. But get this, in one day there were 17 overdoses, or 17 overdoses and calls to 911 while we were there.
911.
911.
911. Too many conspiracy theories.
So one guy, when we arrived, he wasn't breathing at all, and they actually saved his life. Another died before we got there, and here's some of the photos I took of this series.
Man, that's rough.
Yeah, it was intense.
Not to mention that heroin now comes laced with something called fentanyl, which makes the drug 50 to 100 times stronger than normal heroin.
These drug flows are rampant, and President Trump is trying to stop it, and of course he's been talking a lot about it.
Yeah, but again, for some reason, the media is saying Trump is racist for targeting the cartels in his speeches. Meanwhile, these cartels are sending in new types of opioids with fentanyl, which is killing people. That's exactly how Prince died.
Yeah, you're right. So here's a quote from Jeff Sessions in a speech he made to law enforcement officers. And actually this quote is from Dayton. This happened in Dayton. A police officer in eastern Ohio suffered an overdose after brushing what he thought was white powder from his uniform after a routine traffic stop.
Did you guys just hear that? He brushed his hand over the powder and had an overdose. That is insane.
This stuff is very lethal.
So let's point out the obvious here. Even if you're against Trump, why would you use an issue like opioids, something that horrible that's targeting and destroying so many people, to push an agenda?
Yeah, I mean, ask yourselves again, why? Why would they twist an issue like this? And what potential things behind it could there be? You, the people, have to dig to find out.
Our job, look, and just say this, probably obvious, but our job is to introduce you to these things, and guaranteed you're going to find things if you dig.
Yeah, and there's so much more that I could have talked about, but...
On every single issue we've covered so far.
Really?
I mean, geez. Next is the Awan scandal. So let's try to make also another long story short. A guy named Imran Awan leaves a laptop with a letter to prosecutors, his house ID card and driver's license, and a phone booth. Capitol Hill police find the bag and seize it according to their report.
One of the major defining things about the laptop is that it has the login username repdws. the initials of Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Then, during a televised hearing on May 18th, 2017, DWS, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, actually threatened the Capitol Police Chief in an attempt to get it back. She even went as far as to hire a lawyer to prevent prosecutors from looking at what was on the laptop.
Then, all of a sudden, she turns around in August of 2017 and claims, "This was never my laptop. I have never seen that laptop. I don't know what's on that laptop."
So you guys might be asking, what the heck is going on and who is this guy? Well, Aman had been a part of a group of about 5 IT workers paid $7 million by Congress since 2004.
His family was hired, along with him having little to no IT experience, to handle 44 Democrats' sensitive personal information, including emails, calendars, constituent data, personal files, etc.
Yeah, seem weird yet? It gets weirder. The server all these files were contained on were found to have an excessive amount of logins. The sensitive information on those servers could prove useful to companies and other entities around the world.
When investigations started, one of these Awan servers was stolen after the Inspector General named it as evidence in a hacking probe.
When Awan tried to leave the country, he was arrested at the airport and he and his wife were indicted for, wait for it, bank fraud. What? That's like the political version of the weather balloon when someone sees a UFO.
That's a good analogy. Okay, we don't know what's going on, but don't you want to know more? Look into it and start asking the same questions. Why is this not part of the mainstream narrative? Doesn't this seem insane?
Okay, so what did you guys think about this episode of Edge of Wonder? Did you learn anything new?
This episode is really important for us to do because very soon we're going to red pill you guys on even more behind what's all of this and why.
And who's behind it. All right, and this is a taste of the strange happenings in the mainstream narrative.
We hope this got you thinking on why they're reporting on what they currently are and start to notice that there is a major agenda behind those things.
It's really not our job to tell you what those are yet. Our job is to get you guys thinking so we can all find these answers together, right?
Right. So guys, what'd you think? This wraps up our episode.
So guys, don't forget to hit like or subscribe and hit the notification bells in the top.
Right. And until then, we'll see you guys out
On the edge
of truth.
I'll take it.
Hey everyone, have you been enjoying Edge of Wonder? Do you want to help us keep creating new and exciting content every week? Now's your chance. Go to
EdgeOfWonder.nyc.
So guys, we just launched our own version of Patreon, our exclusive donation page where you can pledge monthly at a minimum of $1.50 a month. Who doesn't have $1.50 a month, right?
If you love us enough and feel strongly, you can donate more. But we'll have different tiers of subscription, which will have different offerings depending on how much you pledge.
What's even more exciting is that this will eventually lead to having more access to exciting content and offerings. We're eventually going to build you a platform where we can all be weird together. That's right, we're going to build you an exclusive Edge of Wonder social platform.
So go to
EdgeOfWonder.nyc.
and if you have the heart, help us out a bit. We feel really bad asking you guys this, but the reality is, well, Rob and I, we have to eat. And we want to keep focusing on making great content for you guys and grow it into something you guys will love.
So now one of the cool things that we'll have here up front is our donation page with some offerings and a blog, so you can keep up with our office antics and weird things we're coming across on a daily basis.
So where is it?
EdgeOfWonder.nyc.
Man, I totally need a button with him saying that in the office so I can annoy the entire company. Anyway, we love you guys and we'll see you out
On the edge.